Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are here for another Monday night review. And blimey, well, it's been a nice quiet Monday, hasn't it? Nothing's really happened. Here to talk through it all myself is Mark. As per Mark, how are you doing on this absolutely mental Monday?
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, but just still kind of getting over some of the news from this today, basically. Really, obviously on the big news that we'll talk about first, Rory, and then also the some of the transfers as well. I mean, it's been a crazy summer in the Bundesliga, and in some ways, I'm just kind of glad it's all over really now. I'm glad that transfer window is tight shut, and we're not going to lose any more stars from this fantastic league, but. Yeah, looking forward to going through it. Obviously, there was a good weekend of action as well, quite a
It
lot of good
was.
games as well. But that feels as though it's been kind of like overshadowed by today's action, really, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got a huge show tonight. We've got a lot of ground to cover. So I hope you can all relax on a Monday evening and enjoy this with us. Good to see Elon and Justin already saying hi. And yeah, mentioning transfers and Ten Hag. So we're going to talk about the Erik Ten Hag transfers as well as match week 2. Loads of great games. Hamburg Derby, FZ doing amazing things. Obviously the Leverkusen buying games, etc. There's so much to talk about. In the midst of all that, we've also had the draw for the DFB Pokal. There's a lot for us to talk about. So hopefully you can all enjoy with us as we go through it. And just before we get on to points, please do, if you can, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We've had a great start to the season, so hopefully long may that continue. Make sure you go find us on podcasts as well. Should you wish to choose to absorb us that way, audio, of course. And big shout out to our two partners this season, Covert Football Trips, as well as our great friends at Bully News, and more on that a bit later on. So, Mark, the news: Erik Ten Hag is no longer the Bayer Leverkusen head coach. News was breaking last night that there was a very strong possibility that he was going to be removed from post. And, people were reacting to that. I reacted a little bit on socials myself. And then the news, indeed was confirmed this morning that the club had parted ways. Before I get your strong reaction, I have no doubt that it's going to try and run through a few quotes that have come out of the club just to, provide a bit of clarity on the noises that are happening. So obviously, Ten Hag has not lasted very long. 3 competitive matches in a very short spell, which didn't go overly well on the field performance-wise. The Dutchman signed a 2-year contract at the start, obviously at the start of the summer, to which, of course, he was hoping to, oversee a rebuild. Of course, I'm sure he went into it eyes open, Mark, but maybe not of the nature that then progressed as this summer went on. But quotes coming out of the club. So first off from sporting director Simon Rolfes, he said that this decision wasn't easy for us. No one wanted to make the step, but the past few weeks have shown that building a new and successful team with this setup isn't feasible. We firmly believe in the quality of our team and will now do everything we can to take the next steps in our development. Interesting words there. And then from CEO Fernando Caro, he said, separation at this early stage of the season is painful, but in our view, necessary. Our objective remains to achieve our goals for the season, and this requires the best possible conditions at all levels and across the entire club. So, Mark, give me your reaction. overall, to those words are pretty damning for me. But give us the landscape of how you see this.
I just can't believe it, to be honest with you. That's my initial reaction. Like I the same as you, Rory. I saw the news breaking last night, and I just thought it was a bit of hearsay, to be honest. I just thought there's no way in a million years they're going to part ways after just 2 league games. But obviously that's the way it's gone, hasn't it? That is the way it's gone, and I'm just flabbergasted on behalf of obviously what Leverkusen have done this summer. I mean, for me, I'm going to be honest with you, that is how to destroy a club in 2 months, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously, this is the team that made us all believe, the team that won the Bundesliga in an unbeaten season, obviously under Alonso, with so many fantastic players. The ambition they showed again last year to back Alonso and keep a lot of those players and also add to the squad as well, with the likes of Terrier, Alex Garcia, Belician joining the club as well to add to the fantastic talent, the likes of Wirtz, Frimpong, Hincapié, and Tar, and God knows who else. And basically this year, obviously, they brought Ten Hag in. I would imagine they've sold him the world. Basically said, look, we've got a world-class squad who can compete in the Champions League. What's happened since the 1st of July when he was officially appointed is basically the entire squad has been sold under his nose, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, some of those deals I understand. I mean, Florian Wirtz, when you're offered 130 million euros, was it? You have to say okay to that. At the end of the day, that's crazy money for any footballer. What we've seen with the likes of Granit Xhaka, captain, fantastic, barely put a foot wrong for 2 years. He's been sold under his nose. Obviously, he's been unhappy at the club potentially, saw him move to the Premier League, but surely there's something they can do to kind of keep him. And to sell him for just a paltry 12 million euros just seems crazy as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, the news we've seen just today with Boniface leaving on loan to Werder Bremen as well, which we'll talk about more, but what is going through the heads of these guys? It's like, what benefit can a club like Leverkusen get from that? I just don't see it at all. Maybe a couple of million in the pocket, okay, but you've already got like 200 million already from the summer deals, and more than 200 million. So I feel sorry for Erik. I feel sorry for him. I feel as though he's literally got a hodgepodge of players there. Okay, so many of them have been his signings. Many of the signings have been pretty underwhelming as well, as far as I'm concerned. But he's got a hodgepodge squad. Half of the ones that have been there have been linked away with moves as well, as we've seen today with 2 big moves, which we'll talk about later. So it's been a hell of an unsettled squad. He's got a load of new players coming in from here, there, and everywhere. He's got to put it into a squad that clearly the likes of Caro and Rolfes were expecting Champions League out of, basically, judging, as you say, the comments that have come out from Rolfes saying that he didn't seem like he had a plan. They've obviously based a lot of this on pre-season as well, which Germans really do like to do, by the way. Germans do love the pre-season analysis, and they really read a lot into that as well in terms of like tactical analysis and plans. And they've obviously not been impressed with what they've seen from Ten Hag and his men. And that's obviously continued into the first 2 games of the season, where they've been beaten 2-1 at home by Hoffenheim, and then that underwhelming 3-3 draw against Werder Bremen over the weekend. And obviously they've decided enough is enough. But I mean, to say he's not been given enough time is an understatement. And actually, just in the last few minutes, Rory, Ten Hag has given his side of it as well. And his exact terms with the decision by Bayer Leverkusen's management this morning to put me on my leave of absence came as a complete surprise. To part ways with a coach after just 2 league games is unprecedented. I totally agree. This summer, many key players who were part of past successes left the squad. Building a new cohesive team is a careful process that requires both time and trust. A new coach deserves the space to implement his vision, set the standard, shape the squad, and leave his mark on the style of play. Couldn't agree more, Erik. I started with this job with full conviction and energy, but unfortunately the management was not willing to grant me the time and trust I needed, which is a I deeply regret. I feel this was never a relationship based on trust. Wow. Quite scathing words from the Dutchman himself there. And I echo, that's exactly my opinion, basically. It's exactly my opinion coming from the Dutchman. I do understand that he's known to be a difficult character. I've heard that. But let's be honest, a lot of managers are difficult characters. I mean, at the end of the day, to manage a top football club, you can't be like a yes man, really. You have to stand up. Look at a guy like Ferguson. You wouldn't say he was an easy man to deal with either, I would imagine. So I don't really think that's enough of an excuse just to hook him. But the whole thing is bizarre. Where that leaves Leverkusen, I really don't know, to be honest, right now. I mean, for me, they're not even Champions League contenders or even European contenders right now with that squad. Where it leaves Ten Hag is potentially even worse right now, after obviously being sacked by Man United just last year, and then now it's sacked in unprecedented terms, to quote the man himself, after just 2 league games. I mean, he's going to struggle to get a top job again now, I would imagine. But we're mostly focused on Leverkusen, and for me, I just don't see them as European contenders at all this season. And they've gone from a team who obviously won the double 2 years ago, played well to finish second last year, making the knockouts of the Champions League, to a team for me who won't filter into the European race as far as I'm concerned. So well done, Leverkusen board, but I guess you reap what you sow, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you read out Ten Hag's comments, because I've been out for the last few hours. I've not been able to see the last kind of few hours of the transfer market and that, because I've been out playing football. That is so damning. It's a clear just mismatch from day one. They probably got Erik in shop, and then very quickly realized that there was not going to be a working relationship there. I suppose what comes out of it is only a 2-year contract, so maybe the termination money that they have to pay Ten Hag is not huge, and so they thought, this is just not going to work, and we're going straight for it. Like, we're not messing around. Obviously, there's loads of people asking, who's next, what's next in the comments, which is completely relevant and absolutely something that we need to talk about. And it's going to be something that rolls on for a little while yet. We've been chatting all day, haven't we, Mark? And as this news broke, and I think as Elon mentioned as well, a name's been mentioned already in the shape of Terzic. That's not particularly inspired you. If we kind of start to shift the dial to away from Ten Hag. Look, as a Man United fan as well, I have kind of the feels for Ten Hag, because I feel like he had the short end of the stick at a very poorly run club, which is Man United these days. And he was going to Leverkusen, where I thought he could really shine and cook, so to speak. And he's just not had the chance. I feel really bad for him. Of course, like you say, he is probably quite a strong personality, and so there is in that maybe quite difficult to get on with in some respects. But 2 Bundesliga games in, I think is absolutely ridiculous, personally. But yeah, Mark, who next? Ballum suggesting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's even mentioned you. You're in the market. Edin Terzic, as Elon said, Ralph Hasenhüttl as well. Ballum's been mentioning that. Some lovely suggestions there. If you're going to rule yourself out, Mark, who would you imagine's going in there?
Yeah, I was thinking about applying actually after we finished the show. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I mean, to be honest, I think my name might be more inspiring than some of the other names on the list currently anyway. But yeah, Terzic is obviously a big favourite. He's the one that's been touted here in Germany. I mean, my feelings I've made known on Terzic before. I'm very divided on Terzic, actually. I think on one side, his record is good. He has above a 50% win record over 2 spells with Dortmund. Obviously, he managed to win a Pokal with Dortmund. He got them in the Champions League from nowhere. He also took them to a Champions League final as well. So his record is actually it's good, really, ultimately. But I'm still getting those PE teacher vibes from it. Look, me and you, Rory, we're English guys. We like the kind of strong manager, don't we? We like the manager who, your Jurgen Klopps, your Alex Fergusons, your Jose Mourinho's, and to an extent, your Ten Hags. We like a guy who owns the club, and he kind of takes that club by the scruff of his neck and he takes it forward. But obviously in Germany, it is different because often it's the men in the suits who do a lot of business over here, ultimately. As we've seen with Rolf, Caro, they are the big personalities of that club at the end of the day. And maybe it was that Ten Hag was too big and someone like Terzic will come in with his typical head coach mentality and he will galvanize the troops. And as I say, he does kind of suit the German game in some ways. I think there's no way he could manage in England, for example. I would never have him anywhere near a Premier League team. But I think as a head coach only, he does have ability. The players tend to like him. He's a young guy. He barely looks much older than most of the players, in truth. And as I say, I still get the PE teacher vibes. And if he does get the job, we're going to hear that a lot again on this season's pod. But overall, I'd say he's the better option of the other ones that have been mentioned. I mean, Rosa, I can't believe to see that Rosa's name's mentioned again. I mean, how many clubs is he going to get the chance to ruin, basically? He's just not an impressive manager. I'm sorry. He's just not a big-time manager for me. So I think out of the names that have been mentioned, I would plump for Terzic. I think he is the best name. As I say, his record is good, ultimately. Getting that Dortmund side to the Champions League final was a hell of an achievement, ultimately. Whether he can get much out of this squad of basically unknowns, I really don't know. But let's see anyway. But I think it will be him. He will be my expected choice, and we'll see moving on.
Yeah. So maybe, like you say, maybe Leverkusen are looking for more of a yes man. Ten Hag clearly wanted to work across the club and have big say in everything, really. Transfers especially, and obviously what's happened has not been particularly positive in that sense as well. I guess one thing I do want to ask or query as well is, if Leverkusen win at the weekend, does this happen? And if so, Ten Hag can blame bloody Mark Flecken for his absolute car crash of the performance because they're 3-1 up and playing against 10 men and cruising. What's he doing on that second goal?
I mean, what were they doing signing him anyway and getting rid of Hadatsky, who just put in his best 2 seasons for the club? I mean, let's be honest, as you'd said before, Rory, he'd not exactly excelled at Brentford. Okay, he was a solid keeper for Freiburg, but Leverkusen's a different level. Like they're meant to be going for the title at the end of the day, and he was just, as you say, Rory, he was woeful the whole game, and he was poor last week as well, to be honest. So it's just not an inspiring signing, as a lot of that team isn't at the moment.
I always said, I didn't expect Leverkusen to start amazingly. Why would you? And to be a slow burner, but to not even let him try and just do it just feels really wrong to me. But anyway, we've got to move the dial a little bit because we want to talk about transfers as well. But obviously, this is really big news, on the day, and hence why we needed to go through it. Some really good comments and questions being thrown in there from all you guys. So that's a lovely start to the show. So we'll move things on a little bit and try and kind of condense some deadline day drama and news, and kind of just reflect on some deals that have happened. On what's been a really busy day. Like you said, Mark, can't remember if you said it on air or off air. I'm kind of glad that the window's over. My God, it's so hard to keep up with these days. Everyone's transferring every season or every half season. The amount of money that's been thrown around, the way that the league has been kind of torn apart from a quality perspective, has been not a huge positive, shall we say, but nevertheless we've now got new players to learn about as well. But so, yeah, we'll just kind of run through this, mainly the deals that happened today, if we can at least. Start with a couple. Well, let's talk about the one that Balance mentioned. Let's talk about Victor Boniface going to Werder Bremen, Mark. Massive, positive for the men in green. That could be a season saver, perhaps.
Yeah, absolute monster signing, really. Like this is really, really good news for the Green Club from the north of Germany. I think it's the sign of the season, I would say. I would go that far. I think he's that good. For me, Victor Boniface, when fit and firing, is literally in the top 5 strikers in the Bundesliga. I have no doubt about that. Obviously, a lot of it is keeping him fit because he is one of those players that seems to pick up niggling injuries quite often, doesn't he? But, I mean, I can't imagine they paid that much considering it's just a loan as well. So, I mean, it's an absolute coup. It's a hell of a coup as far as I'm concerned. And this is the kind of signing that keeps you in leagues and maybe even pushes you back up towards mid-table or even top half because, if they can keep him fit, he's good enough to do that. And obviously they kept Schmid as well. So a lot of people thought he was going to leave. So, I mean, actually Bremen now, having last week, a lot of people were tipping them for 18th place. Now, I don't think anyone's tipping them for 18th place right now, especially after a much improved performance as well, again, obviously at the weekend. But I mean, if you look at his record, I mean, 22 goals in 42 games. So he averages a goal a game every 2 games. It's just great numbers for a guy like him, and I think it's a brilliant signing, really. I mean, let's be honest, he was linked with AC Milan just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he? I'm not even sure why they pulled out in the end. Maybe it was his injury record or something, but I think it was. He's a player for me. Victor Boniface is a player. He's born to score goals, and it's more about keeping him fit, though, isn't it? That's going to be key, but. Absolutely no doubt it's a good signing regardless, and credit to the Bremen hierarchy who have faced criticism this season for being too slow in the market. They have come good the back end, obviously with the signing of Isaac Schmidt, who looked good on debut as well, didn't he? So, yeah, I think they've just about pulled it off just in time to save Werder Bremen's skin this season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good way to start. Also, just want to pull up Left Footed saying favorite show, happy Monday. Honored to be your favorite show, pal, and hope you're enjoying what we're doing so far. Lovely stuff. Let's move on. What else have we got? Just want to quickly raise comment from DM. Last night, Manuel Veth from Transfermarkt said on his podcast Ten Hag would be gone by Tuesday. You must have an in with the Leverkusen board. Yeah, Manuel's really good at what he does and covers transfers particularly well. So an inside scoop there. I mean, the news was breaking really quickly and things have transpired the way they have for sure. Right, transfers to mention. There's been a lot of action today with RB Leipzig, Mark, hasn't there? So we've seen, much like Leverkusen, and I'm sure Justin will let us know in the comments, it's been a summer of change for them. So we've also now seen today Luis Openda move on to Juventus, as well as Gertrude. He's moved on to Sunderland. So I think Openda to Juve is a loan with an obligation for around 40 million euros, but Gertrude is a loan with an option of around 23. Leipzig have since brought in Konrad Harder from Sporting, and that's on a permanent deal for 26 million euros. Mark, quick thoughts on those three. Leipzig have had a really big summer of change as well, much like Leverkusen. Openda moving on, do you see that as a blow?
I actually think the 40 million they recouped was quite good in many ways there, because to be honest, I didn't feel as though Openda really had a good season last year, to be honest. Obviously, in his first year, he was a machine, basically. He got, 25 goals. But last year, I felt he was in and out, really in and out, along with Šeško as well. So I think it kind of came out of nowhere because he wasn't really linked until the last minute, really, was he? But obviously, Juve saw a promising striker. I still think 40 million for him is not the end of the world. I would say, obviously, I still believe every player has a price, and I think 40 million for a kind of off-form striker is quite okay, really. And I think Harder also looks like quite a promising replacement as well. I think, obviously, he was the partner of Gyökeres, wasn't he, that's gone to Arsenal. And it was a very impressive, Sporting Lisbon side as well that he played. And I did team player definitely shone in that team. Obviously getting 11 goals and 7 assists last season in the double winning side, which was obviously started by Man United's Ruben Amorim, wasn't it? I think he's a promising signing. Yeah, I definitely think he's one of the better players that Leipzig have picked up this season. He was linked with a lot of clubs, including in the Premier League, I believe, as well. So, as Justin mentions, Vermeeren has somewhat surprisingly left as well, as far as I'm concerned. I always saw a bit of promise in him, and I'd much rather have him than Seiwald, but obviously he has moved to Marseille after the latest kind of flop of a signing, really, for Leipzig. They have had quite a few the last couple of years, haven't they? So
what about Elmas?
Elmas was a big flop because he was a coup. Like, he was like one of Napoli's key players, and he just didn't do it at all. But I think Harder is a step in the right direction. I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's a bit of a coup for the Bundesliga as well, because he was linked with other leagues and probably bigger clubs than Leipzig as well. So, let's keep it positive. And I think he is a very good signing as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Justin is clearly in sync with you on your Leipzig analysis there, Mark, as well. It's good to see that you're on board with each other. Lovely stuff. Move on to some other deals. Wolfsburg brought in another attacker. I don't profess to know much about Adam Daghim, so that'd be interesting to see how he goes. Familiar name for us, Mark, coming back to the Bundesliga is Fabian Rieder coming back over, this time to Augsburg from Stade Rennes. I think that could be quite a nice move. Really liked Rieder. Really liked the signing last season. He had moments and he has quality. Think you like that for your Bavarian boys?
Yeah, I like the business that Augsburg have done in general. As you say, Rieder, I think he's going to be played more in position as well for Augsburg as well, because obviously Fellhauer got injured quite badly, didn't he, the other day? So I guess he's going to be out after, which is unfortunate because he'd started quite well. But I think, it's a good pickup for them. They also picked up Anton Card as well, who looked quite promising. He's supposedly a very, very promising right midfielder from Basel. And then they got Gabi as well. Gabi, who is on loan, which is a hell of a signing because I've heard that he's going to be really good as well. So we talk about, this summer, a lot of teams not showing ambition, but Augsburg are definitely one of the clubs that have shown ambition this year. And they really want to get up towards the European places. And they've not really sold anyone major either. So I think obviously they lost Frank Onyeka, but that was a loan anyway, wasn't it? So they were never realistically going to be able to keep him. But it's been a great summer for them, and looking forward to seeing some of those new faces.
Absolutely. Let's move on to a comment from Elon, and perfect timing actually, because we mentioned the business done by HSV. You'd been pretty impressed with it, Mark, and their business so far, but deadline day deals for Vieira firstly from Arsenal, but also Sambi Lukanga.
Lukanga, is it? Yeah.
Lukanga, I mean, I know a little bit about I know a little bit about both, obviously from watching the Prem, but I think Vieira, as Elon mentions, I think that's a bit of a coup as well. That midfield option. Be interesting to see how Hamburg tried to fit him into their system with obviously the midfield that they have at the moment is Rambo Remberg, as he's known, and Capaldo, who they've made club captain. Does he change formation a little bit? Good signing there, Mark, I think, and some more good business by Hamburg.
Yeah, really good. I mean, just looking at his market value, it's 22 million for Vieira. So you could see really that's a coup to get a player like that from the Premier League. And as you say, Lokanga as well, he has something like over 50 appearances in the Premier League. So, I mean, it's a good number for a newly promoted team. And he also commands a market worth of 8 million in the They got him for 300,000 euros. It just proves Premier League teams, they can just afford to pretty much give players away that they're not interested in anymore, doesn't it? They also got another good loan in as well in recent times. Let me find his name, Luka Vuskovic as well from Tottenham, who's supposed to be a really, really promising centre-back. So definitely, I think we can honestly say they've had a good window. They just need to start using the players now, basically, because I think Merlin Poulsen seems determined just to go with the same team that got them promoted week in, week out. But I think they need to start getting these players involved and get them into match action if they're going to have a chance of staying up this season.
Yeah, another deal that, I'd be wrong as a VFB man not to mention some deadline day deals and recent deals. Confirmed the signing of Bilal El Khanous on a season-long loan from Leicester. There's also worth mentioning the signing of the Algerian right winger from Nice, Bouani. So that was for 15 million euros, I believe. And then I think it's been confirmed, but I can't see it on Transfermarkt. But they've also supposed to have brought in another winger. I think he's South Korean. I can't profess to know loads about him either. I need to do my
homework. It fell through because of a failed medical at the last minute. That one.
Oh, no way!
It's just come through. Yeah. So.
Oh wow!
They didn't
there we
get
go.
him in the end. Yeah.
This is why we're doing this live and on transfer deadline day. Stuff happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bit of a blow, I guess, and maybe that's why Stuttgart have done the, El Khanous deal. I remember watching him for Leicester a few times, and he's quite a bright spark, actually. I know Leicester didn't have a great season and, dropped down the divisions, but a player that can maybe unlock a defence and has got a bit of a magic touch. So I do know a little bit about him, but I'll be interested to see how he fits in. With the signing of Thiago Thomas as well, the fact that they still have Leveling and Furyk, there's places, a lot of competition at Stuttgart. I know you, just before we move on again, I know you're not overly impressed with what Stuttgart have done this season. I feel I'm a bit more on the positive side, as naturally I would be. But you're a bit more pessimistic, perhaps, in a certain phrase, shall we say?
I think the signings that came in today have been more impressive, but I would say like the likes of Thiago Thomas, they always say never go back, don't they, really? Obviously, he got a goal on his second debut, but that signing didn't really overly impress me, to be honest. But I think the El Khanous, he's supposed to be a really good player, I guess. As is often the case, if you're playing in a bad team in the Premier League, you just don't get enough chance to show what you can do. So, and I think he is a bit of a kind of luxury player, so he might suit the Bundesliga better. Obviously, Stuttgart side who are going to have more of the ball than Leicester did last year. So, obviously, it was a desperately poor Leicester side last year, so you can't really judge him. He didn't do that much for Leicester, but I think he was seen as one of their better players. So, and he's got a market value of 28 million. So, he must have some quality in him because that is a very high market value. Looking forward to him. I also think the other guy, Buonanna, let's just call him Banana for now. But I think they're probably hoping for him to be the next Amoura, to be honest. He's also an Algerian, the same as Amoura. I think he has promise. I can't profess to know really anything about him, to be honest, because I don't follow the French league too much. But normally players, especially attacking players that come in from France, are normally half decent. So they splashed out 15 million for him. So, but I'm just worried because obviously the loss of Voltamada, you could really see it in the game at the weekend, couldn't you? They look quite toothless and were, in my opinion, very lucky to win that game. So there's work to be done for the VFB this season, but it is two promising signings at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Just want to say, or pick up this comment from Gully.world. Good to catch you guys from Toronto. Well, greetings and thank you very much for watching from the other side of the world to me and Mark. Hope you're enjoying the show and keep on enjoying what we're doing. Before we move on to the actual football, which is crazy to say after half an hour. Any other business that I've not mentioned, Mark, that you want to highlight? I've tried to focus on incomings into the league because I want to, create the positive narrative because that's what we're all about. But anything that's caught your eye that's happened on deadline day, particularly maybe in the last few hours that I may have missed from not being on my phone particularly so much.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt have been in the business as well. Frankfurt have brought in, obviously, we've talked a lot about their massive transfer budget, basically freed up on the back of some big signings. And they were trying to get through the guy from Newcastle. What was his name? Anuha. But I'm not sure. It's not officially been confirmed just yet, actually. So we're still waiting on the news on that. But they were lined up with a 35 million euro move for him,
Wow.
the young Newcastle striker, I believe from Denmark. So we're still waiting on that. It's not been confirmed by Transfermarkt yet, but it was definitely well in the talks. That was one that was obviously talked about a lot today. I think obviously, the Bayern signing of Nicholas Jackson as well. Let's not forget that.
Of course.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Again, it's still not quite been confirmed actually by Transfermarkt, so I'm always a little bit wary to confirm it. But they were talking about a 70 million plus move for him, so obviously it adds a bit more depth into the squad of Bayern because we've talked a lot about it. They're known to be one of the lightest squads in all Europe, basically. Like they barely have any replacements. So that would be a very promising backup signing. And to be honest, I can't remember the last time Bayern had like two top strikers at the club, really, because obviously they had Choupo-Moting for a good few years as backup, didn't they? So, and last year they basically had no backup as striker. So yeah, it's going to be it is a good sign. I think adds a bit of depth to them. Yeah, but as I say, it's not officially been confirmed by Transfermarkt, but I do believe it's gone through that one.
Yeah.
So, and obviously Leverkusen also did, believe it or not, do a bit of business as well. They paid 25 million for a defensive midfielder from Saudi Arabia, who's only got a mark worth of 12 million. You could see that I'm really on it for Leverkusen at the moment in their transfer business. So, for me, 25 million for a player that's been playing the last 2 years in Saudi is not the most, kind of inspiring signing, but we'll just have to wait and see what Leverkusen can do. Obviously they did get Ben Seguir, and I think that was done yesterday. He's a highly rated left winger from Monaco, so he's probably the most promising signing they've made this summer, in truth. He didn't look particularly good the other day either, did he? So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really. I think most of the other ones were already confirmed. Obviously, Dortmund completed the deal of Choupo-Moting. This name I'll never be able to get, to be honest. Yeah, but they spent 20 million on him a few days ago, and somewhat surprisingly, they've also spent 22.5 million on that Fabio Silva as well, who, for me at Wolves, he always looked absolutely terrible, to be honest. So
I'm sure Cam will have an opinion on that. Yeah,
but at least it shows a little bit of ambition. But he just seems to be one of those guys that has just never done it anywhere he's been. Like, he's had a lot of loan spells as well, Fabio Silva. I was a bit surprised that they outlaid so much on him. I don't know what do you think about that, Rory? Do you think it's a good move, or?
I saw a lot on social. About it taking a long time to happen, basically because the player didn't seem overly interested in coming to Dortmund. So there's not many. He's not got a lot of friends already, shall we say. He's got a win over the Dortmund fan base quite quickly via his performances, I would say. A bit of an odd one. I found Dortmund's transfer window to be entirely odd all summer long. So less said about that, the better, I guess.
Just a little comment as well on Silver. I mentioned that his record at Wolves, he scored 4 goals in 62 league apps. So, yeah, I think that justifies why I was a bit surprised. I thought they were just going to bring him in on a loan, and I thought, okay, maybe he's going to come good. But 22.5 million, that seems a lot of money to splash out on a guy who's 25 and has basically never done anything as far as I'm concerned. So we'll have to see anyway.
Yeah, very strange. Whether they did it thinking that they might have lost Maxi Bayer in the window, because there was a lot of talk around him, but obviously he stayed. But yeah, so much to talk about. The window's been absolutely bonkers. We're glad it's over. We can draw a line in the sand and just enjoy it now. Enjoy the new players. Get some new heroes, some new fan favourites, and see them tear up the league. So, speaking of which, let's talk football. Let's talk match week 2 of the Bundesliga. As you probably see from our cover image of this show, we're probably planning on talking about match week 2 a lot and focusing in on certain games. But of course, there's been so much breaking news, we've had to react to that. But yeah, let's start with a game that kicked off match week 2, Mark, which was the highly anticipated Hamburg Derby, the first of which in the Bundesliga for 14 years, I believe. Awesome atmosphere, really kicked off the game perfectly. And, this was one that had a lot of people kind of predicting different things. I think we all kind of went with slightly different results. I think you predicted a Pauli win in the end, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I went for a Hamburg win. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so, I mean, I think, Hamburg started well enough and it was competitive, but Pauli obviously got ahead really well from that short corner. Perfectly put in by Svigala. Nice connection. I don't think I can probably blame Hoyer Fernandez too much for this one, because I'm going to blame him for the second one. But Pauli played some great football and really should have been 2-0 up by the half anyway. They played some lovely football, and I think what would have been the move of the match and probably the goal of the season if they scored it was just before half time, where I think it was Pereira Lage who should have scored but who missed the target completely there. And then going into half time, Hayersval come out on the front foot, and we think there's an early equaliser for Königsdorfer. Just going onto a long ball straight forward over the Pauli defence, and puts it away really well. But it's brought back for an offside decision, which was inches, wasn't it? Really, I mean, Pauli got away with it very much so in that case. Then on came the troops as well. Mark Dompe and Paulsen came on with enough time to try and change the game, but. Yeah, the biggest moment, I guess, comes with the second goal, which was a lovely pass in behind the Hamburg defence by Fujita, who had a really good game, onto Hutonji, who also had a superb match and was able to go around Hoyer Fernandez and squeeze it home from a ridiculously tight angle. He finished it perfectly well to make it 2-0 as well. So, yeah, obviously they see it out with the red card later on as well. Some more chances for Pauli, really, and it ends up being on the right side of a well-deserved and famous Pauli win, really. So yeah, thoughts on the game, Mark? The stats all add up to what the result was. 1.5 xG for Pauli versus 0.4 for Hamburg. 19 shots as well for Pauli. Really, really positive. For them, great start to the season. I guess, was this game just a sense of one team that's played one season of Bundesliga football and the other has not played any Bundesliga football for way, way too long?
No, in my opinion, I think it's a case of a team, the away side, who've just improved a lot, basically. I mean, I can't believe we're saying that, because I think, obviously, me and you, Rory, we're normally quite good at who's going to struggle, but I think we're going to get this one badly wrong, I'm afraid, on St. Pauli from what we've seen so far. And I'm happy to say that because, they are a strong club. And I just think they've been brilliant in both games, really. I think this was a genuinely superb performance under the pressure. In the Hamburg Derby, the first one we've seen since, I think, 2011, which Pauli also won 1-0, by the way. But I can guarantee they didn't play as well as they did in this game. I just think it was a great away performance in general. But to consider they'd done that on, Hamburg's return to the Bundesliga after 8 years. We saw the brilliant pyro as well all the way through the game, and the choreo. The atmosphere just looked amazing. And I think if you were watching that as an English fan on BBC, you would think, wow, the Bundesliga is a really great league, basically. And I think it was a great advert. The game didn't disappoint. It was a good advert for the Bundesliga. And it was great. It was a great way to kick off the weekend in many ways. But the Pauli performance was genuinely superb, really. I think despite Pereira Lager's miss, he had a great game, and he looks like another great signing for them as well. The Portuguese. Huntonji, I'm just running out of superlatives for him after 2 games, to be honest. He's really genuinely looks like amazing, basically. And it just proves, Rory, doesn't it? I mean, the Bundesliga, we have to have faith, don't we, that it always brings these brilliant players to the fore. And when we covered St. Pauli, we were like, they've got nothing up front. They look toothless. They barely scored last year. But one thing I'm pretty confident in saying after 2 games that they've massively upgraded on that attack to last year. Obviously, Guirassy finished well, but it's just so good what they're doing at the minute. And he was very unlucky, by the way. Huntonji gave a foul away in that first half, which for me was never a foul, which ended up being a disallowed goal. Did you see that one? It was he squared it across, I think, for Lag again, who tucked it into an empty net. And it was disallowed. And the replay, the German commentators were stunned about that. They just said it was a complete incorrect decision, basically. And that would have been a 3-0, basically. And as you say, Rory, the Hamburg side did get a goal disallowed, but that was a clear offside, that one. He was clearly ahead in the end. Hamburg didn't play as well, but they still fought hard. Their fans will be disappointed, but you saw at the end of the game, they didn't boo them off or anything. They stood behind the team. I think they realised that this is a Pauli team who are building something right now and looking really strong in the Bundesliga. One thing of criticism I would give to Hamburg, specifically Merlin Poulsen, is that I'm not liking his lineup, basically. I think he's brought in a lot of these players. And as you say, Rory, the keeper, Fernandez, didn't really do himself much justice. And when you've got a guy like Peretz, who's played Champions League quarterfinals on your bench, for me, just you've got to give up your loyalty. And this is what I mean about this PE teacher vibes. It's like Poulsen's another one that kind of gives that a little bit. And I think he's trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. Fernandez got us to the Bundesliga. But for me, when you've got I'm not going to say world class, but you've got an elite level goalkeeper like Peretz on your books, just give him the number 1 slot. Just do it, guys. When you've got a guy like Josip Poulsen as well, who's itching to start games, for me, he's got to be out there. And I think he's got a lot more to deliver. But obviously, they've had a brilliant deadline day too, Hamburg. And I'm still confident they'll stay up, to be honest. I think there's enough in there from what they've brought in today. But Poulsen has got to be a bit more attacking, I feel. You're in the Bundesliga now. You can't just rely on set plays to get your goals, which you kind of did last season. So there is something missing with them at the minute. They've not really created anything in 2 games. But today belongs to St. Pauli. They were brilliant, deserved the win. And credit to Blessing and the whole squad there for really kind of rebuilding this team, which looked kind of not in a good position at the beginning of the season, really.
Yeah, no, 100%. Good analysis, I think, of both clubs there. And I think, right to give a lot of credit to St. Pauli. They've improved a lot. And, like you said, very happy for them to make us look silly with our, pre-season predictions as well. Work to do for Haag SACKED. Let's talk about, another of our newly promoted sides because in match week 1 show, there's a lot of different things that we needed to cover, and both their games didn't really have loads of action, so we covered them towards the end of the show. But this obviously was the last kickoff of match week 2 on the Sunday evening, and what a performance from the Bully Goats, Mark. This was, sensational, really. Just a great demonstration of kind of outdoing the SCF at maybe what they also do really well with the kind of barrage of really good crosses and kind of using that smart play from open play and but doing it to not just doing it for the sake of it, doing it to real high quality. The finishes, the accuracy of the balls, Marius Bülter, Jan Thielmann, Kaminski, it's all really, really positive stuff. But yeah, they got themselves ahead through, Kaminski getting on the end, really nice volley at the back post from Bülter's deep cross. Again, some very questionable defending from Freiburg. I thought they really didn't turn up all game. So that, was very much a strange one. Into the second half, continued really where they left off. Bülter this time getting another goal, this time getting a header from Thielmann's cross. Excellent finish, really well controlled header. Again, another ball into the box made it 3 as Thielmann was found from a low cross this time. Really nice finish, pushing it into the far corner, giving Atabolu absolutely no chance. The chances kept on coming. It could have been more quite quickly, and then substitute the young man El Mala, 19 years of age. Really lovely finish coming in from the left-hand side, cutting in and smashing it past the keeper as well. 4-0, home and hose, party time at the Rhein Energy Stadion. Late consolation for Freiburg, but they were completely undone, outplayed. I think we're loving having the FC back, Mark. I think it's fair to say their tricot-wearing head coach, Kvasniok, they're just a joy to have back, and they're loving it, and we're loving it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of the stories of the season this year that we've got a lot of likable clubs, who've not really had the best few years. We've just come back to the fore, basically. We just mentioned St. Pauli, and now we're talking about Koeln. I mean, they've absolutely flown out of the blocks, basically. They really have. And they battered Freiburg in this game. They really did. I mean, that some of the goals, as you say, were like really high quality too. And it seems to be something they've really worked on this season. Some of the balls they've been putting into the box, also against Mainz last week, especially with the winner, they're really impressive. And Jan Thielmann, a man who's been kind of talked up in Germany for a long time and had never previously delivered. But I think a year in the Zweite had really done him good, because he looks a new player this year, doesn't he? I mean, we've talked about him before, Rory. I mean, he's been around quite a while now at the club, but he looks good now, really good. And this was basically that front three in this game, top draw, really, all three of them. I think Kaminski, Bülter, Thielmann. Wow, it looks like they got quality there. And I think the big man, Marius Bülter, is another one that has always had quality, but has never quite found a home, has he? But I think he now has found a home, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a perfect club for him. They play the right tactics for him, getting those very good, high-quality balls into the box for him. And he's going to get goals this season. He's already on 2 from 2 games. He also got 2 assists in this game too. So he's on 4 scorer points in 2 games. Can't go wrong with that. Really, really happy for Koeln. Just the whole thing is working for them right now. Let's not forget they've not had easy fixtures either. They played 2 teams that qualified for Europe last year with Mainz, beating Mainz away, which was also a good win, and now Freiburg. The defense also looks solid. Schwaber, great to see him back in net and playing well too. That's, a guy who did really well a few seasons ago under Baumgart, then kind of fell off and now finds himself back in the starting lineup. Great to see him playing well. And Hubers is another one. I think that was a key hold as well, because he had the opportunity to join other clubs the last couple of years. The likes of Hubers and Martel provides that experience. So what I love about this Koeln side is it's like a balance of experience, really clever signings, and a little bit of quality as well. And I think a lot of these guys have played Bundesliga before, maybe not all to a high level of success, but this group, Kwasniok as well deserves a lot of credit. He looks a good manager. I mean, I know him from his days at Paderborn, and he always did well at Paderborn. He always had a strong, hard-to-beat side. And, he's signed well, and I think they're going to do well this season. I mean, how far can Koeln go? We've talked about a lot of these bigger teams that are struggling. Freiburg, another one. They've had an absolutely dreadful start to the season. Mainz have not started that well. I mean, if they carry on playing like this, could even an outside European slot be possible? I mean, obviously it's early days yet, but from what I've seen, both defensively and offensively, they look one of the better sides in the league this year. And I think they've been really good, and credit to them and all involved with the club right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Elon says, no Doan, no party really for Freiburg. They've had a bit of a tricky start. Dingy, a player that I tipped to do well, has not had a good start. They've, I think, lost Merlin Roll to Everton now as well. So, tough start for the SCF. Right, let's move on. Try and get as many games in as we can before we finish up tonight. I mean, we've already kind of touched on the crazy game that was, if I can find it, Werder Bremen versus Bayer Leverkusen. We can maybe just quickly cover it in, for what it's worth, Mark, a really valuable point for Bremen, giving them some positivity going into the international break. Although I do feel that this game was perfectly set up to be a great, positive for Leverkusen to take into the international break. That wasn't to be. Paddy Schick scoring, Newman, Thielmann getting, his first goal for the club, some positivity in that sense. But I'm afraid the goals that Leverkusen proceeded to concede were just, I guess it kind of just sums up in the end what was a bit of a shocker for his team, Ten Hag, and the end of him as the head coach. But Leverkusen have had a real rough start and not being helped by confusion on the pitch. But is that a shock with a completely new team? And the funny thing is, I know we've already covered transfers, but what must you be thinking if you're Grimaldo, like one of the best players in the league? I'm sure, he dropped off a little bit last season, but still an absolute top performer. I'm amazed he's not gone anywhere. And he's just sat back, and he must just be watching thinking, what on earth has happened here? All my pals have gone. I've got a load of new players to play with that I haven't got Scooby-Doo what to do with. It's so weird. But what did you think of this game? Was it just a case of Leverkusen gave Bremen a point? 10-man Bremen at that as well.
Yeah, I was watching it on the conference. Like nowadays, DAZN has got the conference, which I'm really happy about, by the way, because I do love the Saturday afternoon. I think my Saturday afternoon escapades are going to be cancelled now for this season because I just want to sit in and watch the conference every week, basically. So that was a hell of a conference as well for the first one on DAZN that I'd seen because I missed last week's. But the game was just absolutely crazy. Basically, it was mistakes galore. It was, in some ways you'd say it was a classic Bundesliga game, but a lot of the goals were mistakes, really. But there was a lot of fun for a neutral, and in many ways you were kind of glad that Koulibaly was able to crash home that late leveler, really, against Leverkusen, because the way they dealt with the last 20, 30 minutes was appalling, really, against a struggling side with 10 men. You'd have thought that, it was Leverkusen who had the 10 men, basically. And I guess that was one of the big reasons for the sacking, really, the way they dealt with that. But still too harsh in my eyes. I'm not changing my mind, but it was poor from Leverkusen, I'm going to be honest. But I guess a lot of that can be put down to a new team. A lot of these guys, Malik Tillman was making his first start for the club and also got a goal, by the way, so credit to him for that. A lot, Tape was making his first start as well. He had a really poor debut, really, to be honest.
He did,
and as you say, Flecken was just the icing on the cake, really, for a poor Leverkusen defensive performance, ultimately. As for Bremen, it was very gutsy. It was gritty. also they have their own problems too, as we've mentioned.
It wasn't perfect.
They were poor defensively, but they deserved the leveler in the end, and it was a great game for the neutral, but not for Leverkusen fans, I think.
No, exactly. And I think the international break probably comes, at a very good time for Bremen, because if we're looking at what they now have as centre half after that red card to Stark, you've got no Friedel. You've got Koulibaly, who obviously was very shaky and made a really bad error as well. Verber's injured. No Pieper. No Malatini. They are completely stripped of any options at centre half. So they desperately need some a bit of rest ice, compression and elevation for the lads over the international break to rest up and come back, because they need bodies. And we talked about Boniface, talked about that positivity, some new signings coming through. But there's a reason why we've said, why they'll struggle and why they continue, why they will continue to struggle for now, for sure. But yeah, an entertaining game, like I say, typical Bundesliga fashion. Let's also cover a bit of FCA versus FCB on Saturday night, Topspiel. Was it? Yeah, it was. Entertaining game this. The Bavarian Derby. Augsburg threatened to steal a point from the champions late on, but ultimately it was Bayern who came out on top. And even with the second Augsburg goal, which was taken well by Kumur, although I think it was fairly comical defending from Bayern, something that is definitely something that we can talk about as the season goes on, because there's still frailties in that defense for sure. But it's Bayern that really pushed forward and should have got the fourth goal really, to make it a bit more comfortable on the scoreline. But yeah, Mark, that to start with, the away side, that front four, that with that, before you even slot in Musiala back from injury and Nicholas Jackson as and when, it is scary good, and they're just going to score so many goals, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the difference ultimately, as you say. It's just Olise is just going from one level to another. Basically, he's probably going to get Player of the Season this year, which for me probably should have been last year as well. Really, I think he's probably the best individual player in the Bundesliga right now. I would say he was outstanding again in this game. Luis Diaz, even though his finishing is a problem, actually, I remember Liverpool fans saying that, and I've noticed that as well, that he does miss a lot of chances. But the thing is, he's so good at getting in the right positions and on the ball that he just gets 5-6 chances a game, it seems, doesn't it? So that's why he's getting so many goals, because he's always going to finish one of them. But he did miss a few big chances, but he
missed a sitter in the
a few actually, and also on the break in the second half as well. But I mean, the front four is just too much for teams in the Bundesliga, and also Goretzka gets so far forward as well, doesn't he? He almost plays as like another attacker basically, and this is what's winning games. This is why they're getting so many goals, because they can keep possession and they're just too difficult to keep out. Basically, it's as simple as that. But as you say, they have got a major problem at the club, and it's that defense is still not firing. And in the second half, particularly after the 3-0, Augsburg dominated for periods of the game. They just kept playing those like long passes into the channels and into the wing backs, which is still where they're weakest ultimately, Bayern. And they got a lot of joy from that, really a lot of joy. They scored a couple of good goals from crosses in. And as you say, Bayern just didn't deal with it. And they actually had a couple of half chances to get level as well in the last 10 minutes. So, I mean, Bayern deserved to win this game ultimately. I mean, the XG was like 4-1, basically, in Bayern's favour. So they deserved it. But I think, credit to Sandro Wagner after it, because it could have been a battering, to be honest. When it went to 3-0 early in the second half, you were thinking, my God, this is going to be like another 5 or 6-0 win, basically. But they really did the Bundesliga proud. They stuck in there and they made it a good game in the end. We've obviously got to mention that awful incident when Fellhauer got injured by Boe as well with that header. Wow, that looked brutal. Yeah, he was completely out cold, and thankfully he was discharged from hospital the same night. So thankfully he was okay. But I think he's going to have a bit of a spell on the sidelines with bad concussion and things. But yeah, that was a shocking one. But yeah, I think Lima is good, but as soon as he gets subbed off, they're really struggling because Boe still doesn't do it for me. I think Guerrero still probably isn't a Bayern player, really, ultimately. Stanisic has not really proved himself in a Bayern shirt yet either, even though he's very good at Leverkusen.
Especially at left back as well.
Yeah. So that's where they're weak, and teams are getting into them with that. But the attacks is too good, and they're just going to score 3-4 goals minimum every game. And this is why they're going to win so many matches this season.
Yeah, no, 100%. Interesting analysis of that back line for sure. I think, yeah, as soon as you get past a few injuries, it's looking really, really interesting. But it's just, how teams can hold out the wave of attacks, like you say. Lima plays right back as if he's playing as a cam, doesn't he? He's never not in the box, basically. Yeah. And like Goretzka gets forward really well, and yeah, it's not just that front four that you have to worry about ultimately, is it? Because Lima got the assist for the Diaz goal, I think, didn't he? Yeah. So there's just a rich of talents there, and yeah, we might see a bit of Nico Jackson as well. Lovely stuff. So I think, we'll move the dial on a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about Dortmund and Frankfurt, and then we'll very quickly skip through the rest. If we start with BVB, Mark, a nice Sunday stroll for them. Got past a very, an organised Union Berlin side, who showed their very promising colours in Stuttgart last week. Didn't quite get the same levels from the likes of Anza and Co in this one. There's Guirassy and Nemecha who put the goals in. For Dortmund, as they have to say impressed. I think they put forward a good performance here, and Kovac will be pleased. Obviously the 3-3 draw with Pauli, maybe that's a good result, the way that Pauli has started the season. Again, similar to Bayern, would you say? It's just the problems that we're going to see of Dortmund from a defensive point of view. Saying that after keeping a clean sheet is maybe a bit harsh, but what did you make of this game? Positives for the black and yellows for sure.
Yeah, I actually thought Union started really well in the game. Like the opening half an hour, I would say, they were well involved and they were playing well. I think Tom Rota looks, he's putting in better performance, and he seems to like that back three, playing the kind of left-sided defender in the back three. So hopefully he's going to put in a better performance this season after a relatively underwhelming opening season. But then obviously it was that man Guirassy basically who turned the game. He's another one of those strikers that you feel just like a cheat code, really, isn't he? Like he just gets so many. He's just a born striker. He's born to score goals, and he actually missed a couple of really good chances before he got the goal in the end. But he can just score all kinds of goals, can't he, Guirassy? And that's what he does. I think it was quite interesting that they went with the system of playing the two attacking midfielders behind Guirassy. So Bayer, who they've still never really been able to find a position for, really actually played a little bit further back in this game as an attacking mid. I felt as though he did okay. He gets a bit of stick, doesn't he, Bayer, really? But I still feel as though he didn't have that bad of an opening season at Dortmund. I think he got 10 goals still, didn't he? So... but I think it's just that he's never going to be Guirassy, basically. So they've got to find a place for him to fit in. I think he did okay in the game. Brandt as well, the maverick Brandt, really, either brilliant or terrible, basically, depending on the week. He had a relatively decent game. But we're still waiting to see the best from Joe Bellingham yet, I feel. To be honest, I'm not sure really how high his ceiling is because, I don't believe he is his brother. I am a little bit shocked that Nemecha isn't getting starts, in truth, ahead of him. That surprises me a bit. I believe that people think that Bellingham's more of a further forward playing player. So a lot of people expect him to be taking one of those positions that Bayer or Brandt played in this game. But this, Kovac seems to prefer him in a deeper position. For me, I would get Nemecha on and probably Bayer as an attacking mid, really, and I'd stick Job further forward and see what he can do in that position. Really. That's what I would do. But this was a relatively comfortable win. I think it was just a case of, Dortmund have got better players ultimately than Union, and it showed in the end. The second half was a bit of a procession. It was just one of those games where, the underdog started quite well, but just couldn't keep it going, basically. And when you've got guys like Guirassy, it's going to be hard going away from home there.
Yeah, for sure. Good win for the home side. Then Frankfurt continue their strong start to the season. Really good away win against Hoffenheim, who obviously showed some encouraging signs in match week 1 against Leverkusen. I think this one again, probably just the Ritsu Duan show. Mark again, he settled really well in Frankfurt colours. Also, your man Chanuzun getting a goal again. This was a really strong performance by Frankfurt. I think we have to say we gave them quite a lot of credit last week, and we probably have to do that again. The way that they're set up looks really impressive, and under Dino Topmoller, they continue to look like a settled side, a young side. So we'll expect maybe a bit of a drop off or maybe inconsistency at times. But how were you pleased with the way that they approached this one?
Yeah, they were really good. Honestly, they were really, really good. As you say, Doan and Uzun look like they're going to have a hell of a season in the financial capital this year. I think Doan is just such a good player, and I'm always a little bit surprised that he was never on the Premier League radar, to be honest, because he's a maverick, really, isn't he? He just does everything. He's just such a technical player and has done well everywhere he's been. But obviously, from a personal perspective, I'm so happy to see Chanuzun. I think he's ready to take this league by storm. He was just superb in the first 60 minutes in this game. Just the quality he's got. He can do everything. He can shoot. He can pass. He makes the right runs in behind. He's going to get a lot of goals, I think, this season. And it's great to see he's finally showing his promise. I think Topmuller deserves credit as well with the way he's using, because he was very, very young when he made the move as well. I mean, he's still a teenager now. And he didn't really have him straight in the team last season. And obviously now he's fully ready and he's going to take the league by storm. I think Larson keeps getting better too. He's really settled. I think probably the only player who wasn't that impressive was Wahi, really, the striker for Frankfurt. It almost seemed like he wasn't playing because they're so good in the attacking midfielders that they don't really need a kind of striker, basically. Yeah. And they play a lot of good technical football, Frankfurt, on the ground. So Wahi's still yet to really prove himself as being anything like decent, really. They've still got Batshuayi on the books as well, incredibly. But I don't think they're really going to need it because they've got so many goals from the midfield. They've got, Bahoya, who's already, scoring goals this season. Chaibi, who's been a bit quiet, but he's also got quality too. So that midfield is one of the best, without doubt, in the Bundesliga. And I like the system he's playing too, with that very wide 5-man midfield. That works a treat for them. And teams just don't have enough quality to compete with them at the minute. I think for Hoffenheim, I feel a bit sorry for them because they had to Burger and Machida were both injured last week and weren't able to play. So he had to change up his tactics a bit, and it didn't work as well, basically, this week. I think they went too attacking against a very strong side who just overran them, basically.
Yeah, no, very good indeed. And then just, quickly mention the other 3 games. Leipzig getting a needed win with a 2-0 victory over Heidenheim, although this was a very open game, particularly in the first half, but Leipzig became more dominant in the second with a nice clinical goal from Baumgartner and a lovely back heel goal by a new striker, Romolu. So that looks like, positives for Leipzig, for them heading into the international break. Wolfsburg and Mainz played out a 1-1 draw. At the Volkswagen Arena. Zentner with the goal for Wolfsburg, although a massive deflection on it. Mainz looked like they were going to succumb to another defeat, although obviously a late penalty for Amiri after a handball, after a bit of VAR interruption, meant that they were able to grab a point and a red card for Svanberg in the end. And Stuttgart just about got over the line against Gladbach, 1-0, thanks to a nice header from substitute Chima Andreas, new signing. He's looked quite promising, actually, from my point of view. Since he's come in, great for him to get the winner for VfB in a game that they didn't, as you said, I think at some point in the show, Mark, a game they didn't really deserve to win. Hence why Nubel was man of the match. He is very much back to his best with a very strong performance in that sense, for sure. And then just before we finish, just a bit of interesting news from Stuttgart was there's been a lot of uproar in regards to the new kits this season, and the fact that obviously the very famous red stripe, the red and the white and red, the famous red stripe of Stuttgart, and how the kits this season have very much not been appreciated by the fan base. There's been lots of criticism from the ultras and the Cannstatt Kurve, and it was highlighted very much on Saturday, which is supposed to be a celebration event. One of many that are planned for the 100 years of the red stripe, which is a bit of a shame. Mark, have you seen this? Have you heard much about the criticism, and how has it been felt actually in Germany itself?
Yeah, the fans seem like they're not happy at all, and they actually held up like banners at the game and said that it is basically rubbish design. That seems to be what they're saying. And they're saying that basically in the three kits, you can barely, they call it the Brustring in Germany. And it's like, basically they claim that it's not really present on the kits, and that it's not happy about it. And they basically said you can stuff your kits where the sun don't shine, basically. So
very much so.
We know that German ultras are very kind of militant, very political often as well, and very tradition oriented as well, especially for the tradition clubs. And Stuttgart are very much one of them. So it's the latest fallout that a club have had with but it's an interesting topic. In this case, it's not to do with 50+1 as it often is. It's to do with the lack of the traditional Brustring. So we'll have to see, won't we? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and change the kits because of it, to be honest, because German clubs really do have to keep those ultras happy. Otherwise, it's not going to end well, to be honest. So it will be interesting to see if any further development happens on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely stuff. Well, it's been an epic show, an epic Monday night. Obviously, been a bit of a longer one, but of course, we're going into a very early international break, sadly. So it means that we're being stalled in our momentum, but hence why we've wanted to cover as much as possible for you guys this evening as well. So just to finish off, we were due to announce the winner of our giveaway of the Bundesliga box as well, which ended on Sunday night. Sadly, because of how busy I've not been able to get to that. So we'll announce that tomorrow on socials for you all. So good luck to everyone that's entered, and we'll announce the winner and organise that for you all. Of course, and there won't be any traditional, obviously, prediction show because we haven't got any games to cover this week. So we'll be taking a bit of a break. We'll maybe do something during the international break. We'll see how schedules line up with me and Mark and co. But it's been great fun going through it all. Thanks very much to everyone that got involved tonight in the comments, and for everyone just watching. Really appreciate it. And Mark, you can close up for tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. So if you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for all the shows that we're going to have coming your way this season. Don't forget as well that we're also on social media, all major platforms as well. You can check out what we do on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, a little bit of match day vlogging and things like that is going to be coming your way over the coming weeks or months. As you say, as Rory said, we do already unfortunately have the first. It always seems to get earlier every year, doesn't it, this international break? But once again, it's going to be that for the next 10 days or so. But we will be back in a couple of weeks for the the predictions in fantasy football ahead of match week 3, and maybe a couple of shows as well in the break. So see you then, guys. Servus.
Cheers all.